We called it Soccer First, taking the Premier League across the pond.
Welcome to a brand new podcast, episode 1. We called it Soccer First, taking the Premier League and bits and bobs of other football right across from England, the heart of England where we are now, across the pond to the USA and Canada and elsewhere, let's face it. News, views, analysis, culture, rules of the game, fun, quizzes. We've got the lot. My name is Nick Britten. I'm your host, and if you've joined us from Road to World Cup, our podcast, you'll know that my previous host, Ken Davies, from there, you know him very well. This time I thought I'd go out and look for somebody who was young, who was vibrant, who was pretty hot, knowledgeable, all of those things. And
you couldn't find anyone better.
I just couldn't find anybody. So I've come back with Ken. Ken, how are you, mate? Great to have you back. Great to start a new podcast. And welcome.
I'm very excited. We've been trailing this for a while, haven't we? And, one of the things that we've noticed when we were doing the Road to World Cup was how many people that were listening from the States. I mean, it's like in its thousands, and we're getting lots and lots of emails and lots of correspondence on that. And we thought, you know what? What we should do is like focus our efforts on sending all our love and all our news and all our thoughts about the Premier League over the pond to our cousins in the new territories, as we still like to call them.
Yeah, so America, and don't forget Canada.
Oh, Canada, yeah. And Mexico. Because I'm very popular in Mexico, you know.
Yeah. So that's the idea. And the aim of the show is a kind of wide-ranging. There'll be bits of news and analysis. We're going to do a weekly You Are the Ref quiz, so where we discuss the laws of the game, because I think they're always interesting. I love it. I mean, I'm a referee. I've got my first game tomorrow, by the way, Ken.
Have you?
Yeah, first game of the new season tomorrow.
What's this, Derby under sevens?
No, absolutely not. Proper football. So we're going to do You Are the Ref quiz every week. We're going to be looking at... There'll be a FIFA / international watch bit, because obviously FIFA is the gift that is forever giving. We'll be looking at some key transfers. We'll be doing predictions. We'll be doing a guess the player. All of these things which will give everybody who's listening a really, really good solid sort of grounding and updates of what's going on, not only just in the Premier League, but in football in general. So we're going to kick off in the first half of the show, start with a bit of news and analysis. A couple of bits, really, that I think up for discussion that have hit the news this week, Ken, and that's situations going on at Newcastle and situations going on at Chelsea.
Well, now, Newcastle is the big.
Newcastle's the big story.
One. It's
the
big story.
Big story of the week. And that is that Eddie Howe, Newcastle manager for the last 5 years, has departed St James's Park. Widely considered to be probably the most successful manager in Newcastle's history because he brought them a trophy after a 70-year wait. He's certainly a Newcastle legend, but things have been going wrong for Eddie in the last year or so. And let's just take a step back on what Newcastle United are all about, because not that long ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, they were bought out by the PIF in Saudi Arabia with the promise of becoming the richest club in the world, and with the promise of winning the Premier League, winning the Champions League, and grand gestures. However, they've not been able to do that, mostly because of the strict and ever-changing financial rules around football over here, particularly around the Premier League, which means essentially you can't spend a lot more than you're earning.
Yeah, and Newcastle didn't really earn very much in comparative terms.
Yeah, they don't have the earning power of a Man City or a Man United.
They don't have the international marketing power, do they?
No, and their ground, which is a magnificent, is one of the great cathedrals of English football. St James's Park is one of the great cathedrals. It's a brilliant, brilliant ground, set in the heart of the city, but wasn't really set up for huge amounts of sort of corporate money, and which is where a lot of the money now needs to come from. They're doing lots and lots about it, but quite frankly, until they get a new ground, and they're talking about rebuilding on site where the current St James is. Until they get a new ground and do a bit of a Tottenham, then they're not going to be able to really increase their revenue. So, but Eddie Howe arrived in 2021 with a very good CV, having done very well at Bournemouth, and it all went very well for his first sort of 2-3 years. But I think you can chart this slow demise back to 2024, when Amanda Staveley, who was the club's co-owner at that time, she was ousted in the summer of 2024, and she was Eddie Howe, and he was her kind of main ally in the club. And since then, it's kind of never been quite right. Dan Ashworth was sporting director and left. Paul Mitchell came in and suddenly sort of said to Howe, or decided that actually the manager wasn't going to have all the say, or most of the say, should we say, in buying and selling players. There was a bit of a fallout there. That ended with Mitchell leaving. In 2025, so just think back a year or so ago, Newcastle won the Carabao Cup, which is the English League Cup, for their first trophy since 1955, so 70 years. But last summer, since then, it's been a real kind of bit of a disaster area. Last summer, with no sporting director, Howe was essentially in charge of transfer business. Alexander Isak, their main striker, made it known very early in the window that he wanted to leave and go to Liverpool, but Newcastle said no. Isak ended up going on strike and eventually did sign for Liverpool. But the whole saga, which dragged on for a long time, put a big spanner in the works of Newcastle's transfer business. In the end, they did spend money. They spent £69 million on Nick Voltemada. They spent £55 million on Johan Wisser from Brentford. They bought in Jacob Ramsey from Villa. They bought in Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest. And they bought in Malik Chow, centre-half from the continent. Only Chow has worked, realistically.
Yeah.
So that has weakened Howe's power base considerably. He's been deemed at the club really to be responsible. And the mood music coming out of Newcastle, David Hopkinson, who's the CEO, who only back in September was lauding Eddie Howe as the boss of the club and ruler of Newcastle, changed his tune big time. And when asked about it in March on the back of a really humiliating 2-1 home defeat to their bitter rivals Sunderland, was very non-committal about Howe, said he didn't have a stance on the manager's future. You know, in a weakest horribilis, they'd been tanked 8-3 by Barcelona and then lost 2-1 at home to a team that you can never, ever lose 2-1 at home to if you're Newcastle United. And that is, of course, Sunderland. So you just sensed, and I watched every single Newcastle game last season.
You poor thing.
Well, did
you do something wrong?
Since that March, well, my wife is a fanatical Newcastle, and my daughter is as well, to be fair. Since that moment, since March, Eddie Howe has looked like a bit of a beaten man. I was surprised that he didn't leave at the end of last season. But he probably felt, I've got a chance here with my best players, Anthony Gordon and Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali. I've got a chance here to give it another go on the back of what, in the end, was a very disappointing season. Finishing mid-table, finishing out of Europe. And then at the start of this window, Gordon's been sold to Barcelona. Tonali's been sold to Tottenham. Guimaraes is on his way to Arsenal, it looks like. And the rug has been pulled under Eddie Howe's feet. Absolutely, fully. And the only thing to add to that is that Ross Wilson arrived from Nottingham Forest in October as a new sporting director, their third one almost in as many years. And that marked a massive change in their transfer policy. And now they're doing what Chelsea have been doing the last 2 or 3 years, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, which is signing young players with the idea of building them up and selling them, you know, at a profit. What a lot of people don't know, I'll just finish this point, Ken. What a lot of people don't know, and because this wasn't widely reported, is that in May, the club had to enter a UEFA settlement agreement after breaching European investment rules last season. And what that means essentially is they've got to balance their books very carefully over the next 2 or 3 years. Hence this now, sell high, sell Gordon for a lot, sell Tonali for a lot, sell Guimaraes for a lot, buy low, young, unproven players, new manager, young, unproven manager, and see how it goes. They could be in for a very tough season, Newcastle.
Well,
but equally, if they can get through this year, I think it might work. So that's where we are.
Well, and that's a brilliant analysis, Nick. your best work, if I may say. I think, which is great because it's the first episode of the new podcast, so it's well done for saving it up. I think there's a few points I want to make on this. You're much closer to the Newcastle situation than me, but as an outsider, it's been quite obvious that this has been a slow motion car crash for about the last 2 years. And I think that's definitely the case with Newcastle. I like Eddie Howe a lot. I like him as a person. He's a very honourable guy.
I totally agree.
He's done the honourable thing. He's had a look in the mirror and said, I don't want to do this for another 2 years. In fact, my understanding is he told Newcastle about this 2 weeks ago. And they said, no, have a think about it. Maybe get yourself through this year and we'll talk about it at the end of this season. He's been away, he's had to think about it, and he's made the right decision, and the right decision is to walk away. I think one of the slightly odd things about the situation is the timing. 25 days, essentially, it was. Then he made that decision before the start of the new season. I don't think that does Newcastle any favours because they've still got to get a new manager in, and they're literally now, 21 days away from the start of the new season. So I think actually Newcastle should have bottomed this out the minute the last season ended. And in fact, waiting until essentially August to get this resolved is a strategic mistake of a very high order, and it's going to cost them dearly, I think. So you're right. How I think had taken them as far as they could. You talk to more Newcastle fans than I do, but I know of quite a few. And there was definitely rumblings last year about how wasn't very popular, how he was limited tactically. He was playing players out of position. There was no plan B. These are all the mood music. This is all stuff I was hearing. Howe had been extremely popular, especially after the Carabao Cup win. And very quickly, the mood was shifting, and I'd certainly got a sense of that.
Yeah, I mean,
unfairly.
Yeah, I was going to say some of that wasn't his fault. I think
yeah,
it's harsh.
It's harsh. It's really unfair because actually the real root of this issue is that Newcastle cannot attract the players they want. They went through a period where they could, and then suddenly they couldn't. And they were losing their best players, and they were replacing them with not their first choices, but their second choices and their third choices. And that's where they are now still. And in fact, it's going to intensify because what you've got a situation now is that they've lost Gordon, they've lost Tonali, they're going to lose Guimaraes. I mean, that's the heart of the team has been ripped out. And I think Newcastle are in for a relegation struggle. They could easily be relegated this year. Obviously we've got talk of the new manager, the guy from
Matis Yassel. Matis Yassel is coming in, 38-year-old, former coach of Red Bull Salzburg, currently, up until a couple of weeks ago, was coach of the Saudi side Al Ahly, which interestingly, up until a few months ago, was owned by the PIF, same as Newcastle are.
Yeah.
He's a two-time Asian Champions League winner with Al Ahly. He won a bit of stuff in Austria, but he's never coached at this level.
And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. We've seen it so many times. It's like analogy, you bring a Dutch manager in, forget it. It's not going to work because they've never had competition. It's only 2 teams in the Dutch league. There ain't competition. There ain't that many teams. If you're the head of Salzburg in Austria, you haven't got much. Maybe Vienna, but that's it. There's no competition. There ain't that much competition in Saudi Arabia. To be fair, he's going to be like a fish out of water. He won't have enough time. He won't have the players. And I can see Newcastle having an absolutely dreadful season, and he'll be gone by Christmas. What they really should do, in my opinion, is go and get someone like Pochettino if he's available, and get. There's just going to be too much new at Newcastle, and it's not going to work out well. So that's what's clearly going to happen. I think the whole thing has been mishandled. I think the whole thing has been mishandled really for about 2 years. There was a pivot moment. You put your finger on it. There's a pivot moment where it could have gone a really positive direction. It could have gone a really negative direction. It went in a really negative direction. Maybe the one glimmer, maybe just the one little bit of hope is because of the Al Ahly connection with Yassel, could they get Tony? If Tony fancies a trip back to the UK. Tony could make a difference in Newcastle. There's a cat's tail actually in the podcast. So yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think Newcastle are in for a desperate season, and I think this is just going to make things worse. He's been paper over the cracks for a long time, essentially firefighting rather than developing a vision. And I think Newcastle are right in firefighting mode, and I think they're 5 years away from re-emerging as a decent team again, I'm afraid.
Well, that's why I said if they can get through this season. So the players they brought in, Ewan Jowen, Bazumana Toure, Alaji Bamba, Sean Stow, they're good players. They're good players, but they're going to need a season to adjust. And the worry about Newcastle at the moment is also that you know what this is like in football. The vultures start circling.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Are they going to? Is it going to get worse? Are they going to lose Tino Livramento? Are they going to lose Lewis Hall?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The people in for him.
Yeah.
And where are the goals coming from, Nick? And where are the goals coming from?
Well, I think you're spot on. If they can convince somebody like Tony to come in, that'll be massive.
That's the one. That's the one potential bright spot.
Yes, I know. I agree because the goals you're then looking at Voltemada and Wissa. Now Voltemada had pretty much a full season last season, didn't do very well. Wissa was injured for much of it. Came on, played the back end of the season mostly from the bench. He's a much much better player than he showed, and he showed that in the World Cup. To be fair, he showed it in the World Cup.
Good player.
And had a good World Cup. So he can come if he has a good. He'll have the opportunity to have a good pre-season, and he'll start the season fit. He'll be a different player, I hope, for Newcastle this season than what we saw last season.
We're going to need him.
But it's going to be. I think this season's going to be key because if they can survive this season and do okay, then they'll be okay.
Home form is going to be absolutely critical for Newcastle. If they win more than they lose at home, they'll stay up. If they lose more than they win at home, they'll go down.
Yeah, possibly so. Yeah, I mean they are following the trend of young managers. I mean, I'm looking at my list here, and one,
Sunderland,
8 managers are under the age of sort of 50, if you like. Fabian Herzl, the Brighton manager, is only 33, and you've got Arbeloa at Fulham, Arteta at Arsenal, Alonso at Chelsea.
Yeah, but they've come from much more competitive. They've all come from much more competitive leagues.
Yeah. But I'm just
this is my problem. When you come into the Premier League from a non-competitive league situation, you're going to get found out. He's going to get found out.
Well, talking of then, let's move on. Yabi Alonso at Chelsea, who's just arrived, taking over from the absolute farcical situation at Chelsea last season with Liam Rosenior towards the end of the season. They've changed transfer policy quite. It's a U-turn of U-turn proportions, Ken, because they had a very, very, very set transfer idea under Blueco, and we've just been talking about it at Newcastle, which since 2022, it's only been one direction. Buy young players for quite a lot of money, but buy them young and develop them, and then develop them and sell them on, or develop a team that's capable of winning a trophy. Well, that's failed because they haven't won anything of note. They've won the Conference League, which is good for a team like Palace, but for Chelsea it's kind of small fry. They won the Club World Cup last year, but quite frankly, who cares about the Club World Cup? Nobody. And they've done nothing really of value in the Champions League or the Premier League. I mean, they got tanked 8-2 by PSG in the Champions League this season to go out there. So they've turned total, and they're bringing in experience. They're bringing in Danny Welbeck, 35 years old, from Brighton, former Manchester United player. They're bringing in 36-year-old Jordan Henderson, and we talked a lot about Jordan Henderson during the World Cup, didn't we? You and I got selected for the England squad, played a few minutes, but then fell over celebrating England's victory against Mexico. Didn't even get on a pitch, right? Didn't even get on a pitch, but he got booked as a sub, and then when he was celebrating afterwards, fell over and broke his arm. That seems to be the direction of travel they're going in. Interestingly, in April, Marc Cucurella, who's the left-back, and the Spanish left-back, a really good player, plays for Chelsea, was very vocal about this transfer policy. And I wonder if that has really caught the attention of the hierarchy at Chelsea and changed their mind on this. Ken, I'm going to ask you this question, because this is the only question we can ask on this. Is this, bringing in Welbeck and Henderson for their experience, for their discipline, because bear in mind Chelsea's discipline last year was horrendous, 10 red cards, awful, miles more than anybody else in the Premier League. Is it a masterstroke, or are they entering panic mode?
It's not a masterstroke, and I think I wouldn't call it panic mode. What I'd call it, the analogy I would use, it's an oversteer. If you're driving your car and you go into a little bit of a snowy day and you go into a little bit of a slide, what you want to avoid is an oversteer. Where you're really like throwing the wheel the other side, because that's not going to help. You got to go with it. You got to ride it. This is an oversteer. This feels like going from one extreme to the other, and I don't like it because it's too obvious. It's too basic. My problem with Chelsea, and I have a number of them, is I don't really understand what the vision is. I don't really understand what their objective is. What do they think they are? Who do they think they are? I mean, do they think they're Champions League winners? Do they think they're Premier League winners? Do they legitimately? Are they that? Or are they a team that will always be sixth, will always be fifth? And that's actually, that constitutes a good season. European football. Is that what it is? Or are they saying, no. We brought Alonso in now. We're serious. We're going for the Premier League. We're seriously going for the Champions League, because they're nowhere near.
It's. I'll tell you. I'll give you the answer to that if you want me to.
Yes, I do.
The answer to that is they have previously thought that they want to be Champions League winners, they want to be Premier League winners, and thought they had a strategy to do so, and it's failed. Bringing in Alonso is I think, and bear in mind, everybody expects him to go to Liverpool, but bringing in Alonso is a serious move.
And that was a great move. That's the best bit of transfer policy they've done in 5 years.
Without a doubt, and that indicates, I think, Chelsea's seriousness at going, right, okay, we need to become an outfit capable of winning these types of trophies, and I think bringing in the likes of Henderson and Welbeck is a brilliant move. These are a pair. Don't make that face at me. This is a pair who've got a combined 863 Premier League appearances between them. They've got 132 caps for England between them. Chelsea have got a young, rudderless team who are packed with great talent, but who can't see games out, can't see big situations out, crack under the pressure, lose their heads, get sent off, lose games they should win because they just fall apart. They have no experience in that team whatsoever. So this is not... Wait a minute. This is not filling their team with 30-something old players who may not have seen better days. And bear in mind, Welbeck's had 2 great seasons at Brighton. He's been in and around the league's top scorers. This is not that. It is keeping those young players, the likes of Estevao, who need developing, those types of players, Levi Colwell, there's lots of them. Chelsea's team's packed with them. And bringing in some experience to help them. Calm heads, cool heads, been there, done it, won it. And I think it's a great move to start off their transfer business. I think it's very clever.
Now, well, we'll agree to disagree, and we'll see what works out on this. Clearly, what Alonso needs to do, and maybe this is the first signs of this, Alonso needs to establish, he needs to take control. He needs to establish his own policy in terms of transfer. I mean, he should be able to attract some great players.
Well, maybe this is it.
This cannot be it. This cannot be it. I mean, if
it's only the start. You're making it sound like it's going to Chelsea. It's the old Chelsea pensioners. There'll be a team.
Well, there you go. I mean, who's next? Now, Bobby Moore, Bobby Charlton, Paul Gascoigne. I mean, it's no. Neither of these two are going to flick the dial in any way.
That's a new word.
They're gonna, except they're not going to even going to flickle. They're not going to flickle the dial at all. It's just not going to register. They're over the hill and far away. There's no way these two are going to make any difference. Henderson, rather have Bigfoot playing for me than the Hendersons.
Okay. Well, actually, to be fair, Bigfoot at centre half. Well, no, put him in goal. If you put Bigfoot in goal,
yeah,
you won't
that's
even
right.
able to see the goal. Just get him to lie down across the goal. And
no one ever score from a free kick.
Got 38 clean sheets.
But no, it's just one extreme to another. I'm going to give Alonso a season. Chelsea aren't doing anything this season. Alonso needs to build this team over the course of the season. Fact of the matter, Welbeck and Henderson will be gone at the end of this season. They're probably there just to keep things steady, but I don't see it as these two. I don't see as important in the whole scheme of what they're going to do at Chelsea. These two will be in and out and long forgotten.
Okay, well, look, bear in mind, I'm normally right on these things.
We shall see.
History of our podcast together, mate. I'm normally right on these things. Can I just remind you of the clip I sent you in the middle of the week on WhatsApp?
My internet was down all week.
Yeah, which was a podcast that we did in January where I predicted a Spain versus Argentina.
Oh, here we go.
With Spain winning. In fact, I'm going to play that next week. I'm going to play it.
That's a different podcast, mate. No one's interested.
No, everybody's interested. Right, here we go then. That's the news and analysis. Let's see, Ken, what your laws of the game are like.
Okay.
That's the referee's whistle.
All right.
It's the referee's whistle. It's time for You Are the Ref.
Okay.
Weekly quiz, testing your laws of the game. Because it's the first podcast, I've gone dead easy on you. I've gone dead easy on you. And it's a kind of two-faceted question. So the first one is Law 4.2. This is the IFAB Laws of Football.
Oh, yeah, 4.2.
4.2, which is compulsory equipment.
Oh,
Which items are compulsory for a player to be allowed on the pitch?
I would say two things. Boots and shin pads.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you've got off to a losing start, just like I expect. Because if I just walked onto a pitch with boots and shin pads on, I'll probably be sent off for indecent.
Oh, indecent. You mean they're honestly got in the rules? You've got to wear pants.
Yes. No. Pants are not in the rules, but there are 5 compulsory items every player must have before he's allowed on the field of play.
Okay.
They are a shirt with sleeves.
A shirt with sleeves. Headband.
Shorts.
No. Socks.
Tape or any material applied or worn externally must be the same colour of that part of sock. Shin guards.
Yeah.
And footwear. So there are 5 things that a player must wear.
Okay.
And that's the easiest question you're going to get.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't actually expect them to actually say "and clothes." You know what I mean?
Well, it's got to be clear, isn't it?
Otherwise, fair enough. I mean, yes, you're right. I suppose you are right.
I'm going to give you
half a point, surely, because you've got the two difficult ones there.
You get nothing for that. That was miserable.
Oh.
Right. So a little question then about things that go on during a game.
Yeah.
A player accidentally loses a shoe inside the opponent's penalty area. A teammate plays the ball to this player who scores a goal with his foot where his shoe's fallen off. What's the correct decision from the referee?
Goal.
Why?
Because he was still in possession of it. He brought his shoe. The shoe was still in his possession, although it wasn't actually on his foot. So it's still deemed to be, the player had it with him, let's say, and so therefore there's no reason to disallow the goal.
Well, the answer is the referee awards the goal. You're right, but the reason's completely wrong.
Oh, so who cares? Go on.
Under the laws, you are allowed to your boots to be off up until the next stoppage in play when you must put it on.
Huh.
So if the ball goes out for a throw or a corner or a goal, as the case may be, it's fine to have your boot off. It's not fine to still have it off when play restarts. So you're allowed to wait until the ball goes out of play to replace your boot.
Obviously.
So goal is given.
But that was all right there. I think 1.5 out of 2, eh?
No, that didn't count in the actual quiz. So because that was just a supplementary.
Oh, right.
You did so badly at the first bit.
Okay.
Right. Hydration break time, my friend. Hydration break time. And how are you getting on? How's the first half been for you?
I've enjoyed it, actually. Obviously, I've got a bit warm. I probably do need to jog over to the side and just have a little bit of refresher. So while I do that, I'll play this.
We called it Soccer First, taking the Premier League across the pond.
And we did call it Soccer First, as we talked about in the last episode, by the way. So it's us over in England reclaiming the word soccer and putting our arms around all our soccer followers, wherever you might be in the world. By the way, if you're enjoying this, like it wherever you listen to your podcast, subscribe. Therefore, obviously, the podcast will come straight to you as soon as we've released them. We'll be releasing them twice a week. Tell your friends about it. Say there's a couple of Brits who are actually worth listening to in relation to the Premier League, and we'd be very grateful. And if you want to send us your correspondence, because we love the correspondence, we get a lot of it, and the Gmail works now, by the way. It's soccerfirstpod@gmail.com, soccerfirstpod@gmail.com. And one final thing before I go. We don't really have any adverts in this episode, but if you are the chief marketing officer of a huge software organization in Palo Alto, thinking, how else can I burn through all this investment money? What am I going to spend it on? Well, chuck it over here. We'll burn it for you. All the details will be in the show notes.
That was a very unsubtle pitch. That was a very unsubtle play. Yeah, well, it wasn't. If you want to burn through the money, is it? It's if you want to reach thousands of football fans, soccer fans.
Nah,
we're the way to do it.
No. We'll burn through it. We'll go. We'll drink a lot. We'll have massive meals. We'll go to Dubai for the weekend. We won't do anything with it. We'll just spend it.
Thank you for your correspondence this week. The email does work now. I know a couple of you sort of wrote in a different email going, "What? Your new email doesn't work." We've asked for predictions for Premier League. We've asked for anything you want to hear on the pod, or any stories you've got, or this kind of stuff. Because actually, as listeners and viewers to this, because we're on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, your involvement in it is very important to us. We want you to kind of share in the fun. So Laura, who's been in touch with us in our previous incarnation a few times.
Oh, Laura, one of my favourites.
And she fancies Manchester United for the Premier League this season, Ken. Yeah,
that's a bold prediction.
It is a bold, yeah. It is a
bold. I can see the argument, by the way. I mean, they were vastly improved last year, vastly improved. And I'm not sure they're quite there, but, you know, we've talked about this offline, and Arsenal, you know, might be got a bit of fatigue in the ranks. There's an opportunity. I don't think Arsenal are going to be quite as good as they were last year. So I think, you know, they've got a chance, but I wouldn't necessarily put my house on it.
No, fair dues. And we've heard an amusing story, actually, from Mark in San Francisco. Originally from New York, New Jersey, but he's moved to San Francisco.
New Jersey?
In the 1990s. Because in our last podcast, we talked about the carnage and the chaos of Italy's attempts to recruit a new coach.
Yeah.
And particularly with Andrea Pirlo, who got the job and then got told he couldn't have the job because of his links to a Russian betting firm. Mark said he was out at an Italian restaurant the other day in San Francisco, and he was served by a young gentleman who was only 12 years old, who's from Calabria in Italy. He's only 12 years old. And they were chatting about football generally with this kid. And then, because Mark sort of asked, because Mark's got I think he's got an Italian background here, but he asked him about what's happened to our Italian national football team. And this 12-year-old kid threw a bit of a strop. He said his whole attitude changed. He was completely sullen. He stood there speechless and said, "Where I come from, we don't talk about that."
Oh, my word. I thought he was going to say, "What's the World Cup?"
Because he would never.
What are you talking about? I've never heard of it, mate.
Never have seen his team play in the World Cup.
Oh, we feel for them, don't we? Because I don't think Pep's going there anymore either, is he? And as we were saying, as we were saying, the best job in international football. Pochettino. Has he even got a kind of Italian sounding name? I reckon.
Who they're going to give? They're going to give it to Maldini, not Paolo Maldini. They're going to give it to Roberto Mancini. I think he's going to get it.
Really?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I know. I'm a bit like that as well. Yeah, but
not my first.
But there we go. So look, keep your correspondence coming in because now the email does work. soccerfirstpod@gmail.com. I've tested it, so if you get a bounce back, it's not my fault. I've tested it and it works. Right, into the second half of the show we go. We're going to kick off with FIFA International Watch. One of the biggest stories in world football has happened this week. Perfectly timed for the start of this podcast. One of the biggest football stories ever in world football has happened this week when UEFA, in protest of a plan hatched and announced by Gianni Infantino who's becoming, and this could do for him, Ken, this could do for him.
Wow.
Plan hatched by Gianni Infantino to essentially sell off the World Cup to private investors. UEFA, who were already at loggerheads with Infantino over the whole World Cup USA Donald Trump intervention and allowing Balogun to play against Belgium, one of their teams, they were already at loggerheads. But after a meeting with all of their nations, so England, Scotland, and Wales, and Spain, Italy, France, Germany, all UEFA's teams announced they were boycotting.
Malta, Greece, Hungary.
I don't know why I started doing that. And then I thought, well, if I've got to name one, I've got to name all of them.
Poland, Denmark, Sweden.
I don't know why I did that. They announced this week that they were boycotting the World Cup if this plan wasn't scrapped immediately. Ken, just bring us up to date with what this plan was, because it looks like UEFA's actions have blown it out of the water. And where do you think that leaves Infantino?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I know this is a football podcast, and I know it's not Accountancy Live or Excel spreadsheet today. So we're going to keep it fairly light. But it's business. We've got to talk business for 2 minutes. Essentially, it's all about this organisation that the FIFA are trying to set up called FIFA Forward Enterprise. And essentially what that was a way of taking all the commercial bits of FIFA out into one bit and leaving all the boring bits about how you change the rules in a different bit. FIFA retain that. So taking all the commercial enterprises out and saying, actually, we're going to run this as a separate business. And by the way, if we do run it as a separate business, 20% of it can be bought by individual companies and they can have a say and ownership in it as well. That was the idea. That is the idea. So one of the difficulties with it, of course, it's allowing commercial organisations into the FIFA organisational picture. A lot of people are very, very unhappy with that, particularly UEFA. Now, it's not as simple as it looks, because essentially it's a philosophical point. It's a philosophical question. Do you want commercial operations involved in the organisation and running of essentially a not-for-profit organisation? Do a pretty good job of making it, but they're essentially a not-for-profit organisation. Do you want commercial organisations to have a say in that, or don't you? It's a philosophical question. Now, I have to be honest, I run a business, Nick runs a business, we're not all bad, people who run businesses. Now, one of the difficulties with it was the way it was set up is that actually it all involved an organisation called Thrive. It's Eternal, I think. Now, Thrive just happened to be linked to a guy called Joshua Kushner, who just happens to be the brother of Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. So it's all very political. And it all seems to be the plan of one man, Gianni Infantino. Nobody else is putting their hand up within FIFA and saying, yeah, I support that. What a brilliant idea. It's a one-man thing.
Well,
so
quite the opposite, if I may interject, quite the opposite, because quite a few senior FIFA officials have come out and said, we didn't know anything about this. This is one man's guy.
This is a one-man project, which is why it really does. It really is a problem for Infantino now, because he's had to reject it. In fact, it's official now. He said this isn't going to work. The reason he's reached that position is that UEFA said, no, we ain't doing this because philosophically we don't want to. Same for CONCACAF. They said, we don't want to be part of this. And a lot of the Asian teams are saying the same. And therefore, all they need is a majority of the 221 FIFA teams, but it's not going to go ahead now. Now, there's an other side of the coin that I think, in all fairness, we should talk about. Because why does he need to do it? Why does he want to do it? Well, the reason Infantino wants to do it is because UEFA made 15 billion in the last cycle of World Cup. But now they're looking ahead at Morocco, Spain and Portugal. They ain't going to be making that amount of money. Nothing like that amount of money. And in fact, the smaller, less rich countries of FIFA want more money. The reason Cape Verde and Curacao and Jordan and Uzbekistan with the World Cup is that they had injections of money from FIFA and they want more. And in this plan, if they sold off this 20%, then these smaller teams, the tiniest teams of the 211, would be getting $20 million up front and another 20 million over the next 4 years. That's life-changing amounts of money for small FIFA affiliate countries. So one way of looking at this, and it might not be the most popular way of looking at it, is that the rich nations have denied the poor nations some money because they've said we're not going to do this because we don't need the money. But these poor nations do need the money, and they've been denied it because this has been stopped. Now, that, in all fairness, because we're trying to do a balanced thing here, I've given you the counter argument, both arguments. Fundamentally, though, it comes down to the fact is it's a philosophical question. Do you want outside companies involved in the World Cup, which is the people's game, and FIFA is supposed to be a not-for-profit organisation? That's my view. I don't want corporate money anywhere near it, and I think that's what the majority of other people's views are as well. So that's what's been happening. It's going to damage Infantino because his credibility is shot to pieces now with the World Cup that's just happened and this particular escapade. And I think we're going to see pressure increase on Infantino in the course of the next few months.
Very, very well summarised. What is a very, very complicated situation, and sitting at the back of it, you've got plans to expand the World Cup to 64 teams. Which
that will definitely happen now. Yeah, I think that's the way they're going to get more money.
No, I think we probably will see that. But the key issue now is that in the space of 2 weeks, or no, not even that. So this story was broken 6 days ago by Martin Ziegler of the Times of London, and it was a brilliant scoop. It was one of the great scoops of the year. It'll win him lots and lots of awards because FIFA were trying to keep this very much under wraps. But the Times blew it absolutely wide open. And in the space of 6 days, Gianni Infantino has gone from pretty much a cakewalk, a coronation for another 5-year term as president of FIFA, to his position now becoming very uncertain and growing calls for him to stand down now. Growing calls, not just from within football. I mean, the English, I can't say that. The UK Prime Minister, even, who only arrived last week, he's got involved. Andy Burnham, he's called for Infantino to go, and calls are growing, and there just seems to be a real power struggle between FIFA and UEFA at the moment. Alexander Seferin, who is the president of UEFA, knows that FIFA can't operate without Spain, without France, without England, and all the other clubs. So he took a risk in doing what he's doing, but it's paid off. It's a gamble that he's won. And Infantino's position is now, from a position of great strength, very, very weak.
And this was absolutely unnecessary. Infantino, it was really unnecessary because if this hadn't happened, I think he was definitely a shoe-in for the next 5 years, particularly with his expansionary plans. That this is really scuppered him.
I've seen reports that this is an Infantino kind of feathering nest situation whereby he can see himself in 5 years' time when he steps down as president of UEFA as becoming chief executive of this new.
Like they do in the NFL. Like they do have a very highly paid guy in the NFL looking after the NFL at that. And Infantino saw himself in that position. But it's a step too far.
Yeah. So we'll see. A really interesting story, and one of the biggest stories in world football for a long, long, long time. So we'll keep a very close eye on. I mean, the plan, I should say, just to finish that off, that the plan is now officially dead in the water. Overnight, we woke up to the news again this morning, didn't we? Yeah. That FIFA have officially scrapped it, as they had to do. There's no possible chance of carrying on if UEFA are suggesting they're not going to send their teams to the World Cup. So there we are. Right. Okay. We're going to move on to Transfer Watch. Almost the last section of the show now. Transfer Watch. Just have a look at some of the key transfers that have been catching our eye. Ken, we had two massive transfers in the Premier League during or just after the World Cup. Elliot Anderson, England's midfielder, during the World Cup left Nottingham Forest to join Manchester City for a this makes me laugh, by the way, and I'll tell you why in a minute. For a £116 million fee. And one of the reasons why Forest drove up such a massive fee was that Marinakis, who is the Nottingham Forest owner and quite a character, believe you me, you will be hearing a lot more about him in the We Called It Soccer First podcast as the season goes on. I can guarantee you that. He's quite a character in the English game. And he wanted the badge of honour to say that Nottingham Forest, and therefore me, holds the highest English transfer fee. Essentially,
I charge the highest fee of anyone ever. I'm the greatest businessman in the world.
And he did. And he was able to, £116 million. Yeah, and he was able to wear that badge but only only for a couple of days.
3.5 hours.
Yeah, hot off that, Morgan Rogers left Aston Villa, also played for England in the World Cup. Morgan Rogers left Aston Villa to go to Chelsea for £117 million.
I feel quite sorry for him, really, don't you?
So Marinakis must be sitting in his pool in
He'd be
Greece.
fuming. He'd be fuming. Wouldn't he? With that
He
cigar, he'd be
will.
chewing the end of his cigar off.
Yeah, he'll be absolutely furious with that. So he's going to have to scout around, look at maybe, I don't know, Chris Wood for 118.
It's not happening, is it? 118 pence, maybe.
Morgan, he might decide to get rid of Morgan Gibbs-White finally, having not allowed him to go to Tottenham last year.
He's not getting 118, to be fair.
No, absolutely not. Well, I didn't think, mate, listen, let's be serious. Elliot Anderson is not worth anything like £116 million.
Well, that's an interesting point. I was talking to someone about this. Actually, we're just too old. We're just being duffers, really. I mean, we've said this the first time a £10 million player. We said it the first time. I remember the first £1 million player, then a £10 million player. That guy's not worth 50 million. It's just forget it. It is what someone is prepared to pay.
Oh no, I'm not.
One day we'll be saying, "Hey, he's not worth 500 million. He's a goalkeeper." But
Yeah,
that's the
no,
way
that's
we're going.
fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, but the market has generally been sitting around somewhere between 80 and 100 million
Well,
pounds.
it's any decent players over 100 million now.
Yeah, this has shifted the dial.
Yeah, it
because
has.
if Anderson hadn't happened, Rodgers would Villa have demanded 117 million? Maybe because I think Rodgers is that good. And for Chelsea, he'll be a great signing.
Yeah, Rodgers is a much better signing at that level than Elliot Anderson, I think.
I think so, and I don't want to do Elliot Anderson down. He's a good player, but he's not to my level. Look, put it like this: Tottenham bought Sandro Tonali from Newcastle for £92 million, and I think that's not a bad deal because Tonali's a really good player, proven international. I know that age is slightly against him there. I don't know how old he is. I've got a feeling he's kind of early 30s, but I may be wrong. I'm going to have to look that up. But he's a really good player. He's a better player than Elliot Anderson. Is what I'm saying. Do you see what I mean? But young English players. He's only 26. Tonali. He's only 26. Sorry, my mistake. In that case, I'll tell you what.
That's a good buy.
I'll tell you what. Tottenham have got an unbelievable deal there for 92. When they look at Anderson going for 116.
But I think what the Anderson...
Newcastle must be looking at that going, uh-oh.
Yeah, we could have charged more. But
yeah.
But it is Man City. But Elliot Anderson, is that not connected to like the Rodri situation, do you think?
Yes, I think so. I think.
And they think the same when Rodri's off. We need a Rodri-esque type player. And I mean, he's not Rodri. He's nowhere near Rodri. But he's a defensive midfielder with a massive work rate. And he's young. He's got the potential to develop. Will he ever be? He'll never replace Rodri. Rodri's an outstanding player.
Nobody can.
But I think that's the thinking behind it. And I think he was the best option he had available to him.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Other high-profile transfers. Johan Manzabi had it. This is where the World Cup can really, really make or break a career in some respect, or particularly make it. So Johan Manzabi, on the back of a brilliant World Cup for Switzerland, has gone to Aston Villa for just short of £60 million.
Yeah, he looked a good player though, didn't he? I mean, to be honest, Jordan Henderson had a brilliant World Cup, and it got him a great move, didn't it? I mean,
so bitter.
Yeah,
You're so old. And
he got booked. He got booked when he wasn't even playing, and then he fell over and broke his arm. Probably the world's worst ever World Cup. Got him the big deal though.
Yeah, Maxime Lacroix has gone from Maxime Lacroix has gone from Palace.
Good player.
To Chelsea, £52 million. Great signing for Chelsea. That is great signing. He'll be a big loss to Palace. He's been the absolute stalwart of their defence for the last.
Yeah, I worry a bit about Palace.
Yeah, we'll come to that in future episodes, no doubt. And various other transfers have been taking place. A couple that caught the eye for good and bad reasons, Ken, is Yuri Tielemans, £35 million to Manchester United from Villa. Interesting transfer that. Yeah, I like it as well. I like it as well. I think that could be a smart bit of business for Man U.
And they've not overpaid for him, and he's a very creative player. Yeah. And I think he'll fit into United as well pretty well. No, I'm starting to like United setup. They're just slowly building a very decent team there.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And lastly, transfers that make no sense. Actually, I should say one thing that we're keeping a very close eye on is Vinicius Junior.
Oh yeah. But there's talk about United in for Vinicius, you know. Because they think United have got, because of their massive revenue generation, they're really the only team who probably can afford him.
Yeah, maybe.
We need to Vinny Junior watch next week.
Vinny Junior watch, yeah. We'll keep it on that in our rumour mill section.
Oh yeah.
Which, for those of you who know us well, was going to be the new podcast.
Yeah, but this is better.
Yeah, that's only a part of the podcast.
Yeah.
But one transfer that doesn't make any sense to me at all is Alejandro Garnacho, who failed at Man U, failed at Chelsea, and has gone to Aston Villa, who are playing Champions League this season. He's not going to do anything there, is he?
No. No, he's not. I mean, what did they pay for him? I don't know how much have they bought. Have they paid a decent amount for him, or is it just on a free contract?
It's a loan move. I'm guessing Chelsea. Chelsea said, right, okay, look, I'll tell you what, we'll pay you a shed ton of money for Morgan Rogers, but you've got to take this kid off our books.
Yeah, we'll drive him there
because we don't want to pay him anymore, and he's a pain, and he's not very good.
Yeah, and no, it's not going to work. It's one of those. You're right. I mean, it all could be part of the mix, and I think part of it may well be to avoid issues with financial fair play. It is all in that mix. I can't see the footballing reasons behind it. I don't see how he's going to fit into Villa or make them better. So I don't really understand. It's just taking up a squad position for me.
Well, he might become another Harvey Elliott who moved to Villa from Liverpool on loan.
With great expectations, just didn't work out, didn't it? But Villa had a very funny season last season.
Well, a great season in the end, but they started off really badly,
terribly, didn't they? Yeah,
started really badly.
But maybe one argument of that, if you've got a lot of European football, they need a squad. They need they need some depth. It might be part of the story.
Yeah. No, fair enough. So that's Transfer Watch. We'll bring you some of the most eye-catching transfers, rumours, and all of that. This section every week, and to close the show, Ken. We're going to do this.
Yes, he's round the last defender, under his right foot. Oh, it's a goal!
You'll be saying that all season with Wrexham, won't you? Except you won't.
I will. What? We beat Man United and we beat Leeds. We lost 1-0 to Liverpool.
You lost to Liverpool. You lost to Liverpool at the New York Yankee Stadium game. My son was at that game.
Wow.
Yeah, Will went. Yeah.
Wow, but so Wrexham are looking pretty decent, quite honestly. But there you go.
Yeah.
So I've got something for you, though, Nick.
Yeah, this is it. This is a guess the player game. We've got 90 seconds, where each week I'm going to set a yes or no game for Ken, and the next week he's going to do the same to me. So last week we did it, and it was a very easy one because Ken got it straight away. But Ken is going to give me 90 seconds. I'm allowed to ask him questions. He can only answer yes or no, and then I've got to guess the player.
I've set my
set your stopwatch.
I've set my stopwatch now. It's going to go, and as soon as I go, you can start asking questions. Go.
Okay. Does he play for a team in the north, i.e., above the Midlands?
Yes.
Does he play for Manchester United?
Yes.
Is he a midfielder?
No.
Is he a striker?
No.
Is he a defender?
Yes.
Does he play for England?
Not at the moment.
Is he Harry Maguire?
No.
Damn. Is he Luke Shaw?
Yes.
Oh, come on. Get in.
This works, this game, doesn't it?
How many seconds was that?
28.38.
Oh, come on.
Just a little bit slower than mine last week.
What did you got Cody Gakpo last week, didn't you?
In 26.4.
Yeah. Right.
That's the leaderboard, mate. That's the leaderboard.
If any of you got any quicker than me, by the way, just do let me know.
That's rounded up to 20. Actually, 28.3 rounded up is
rounded down.
76.4 minutes. No. So it's 28.4 seconds there, mate.
That's all right. I'm happy with that.
Well, it does mean that actually the game works.
Yeah, no, very good. You can't play along at home in as much as asking questions, but you can play along at home in terms of trying to guess quicker than Ken or I. Right, folks. That brings us to the end. Oh, I'm exhausted after that. That brings us to the end of the first ever. We called it Soccer First.
Because we did. Because we did.
We did call it soccer before anybody else. We just don't call it that now. So we hope you've enjoyed it, and do stay with us. Do, as Ken said, subscribe, like, tell your mates, give us a nice review, and get in touch with us on the email. And we will be back
Wednesday.
Wednesday is going to be, we're going to do twice a week. So we're back on Wednesday. Until then, look after yourselves, look after each other. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
We called it soccer first, taking the Premier League across the pond.